With the NBA trade deadline less than 24 hours away, we have seen a craze of rumors, but finally, the first domino, the big bombshell, has finally fallen this afternoon/evening as Jimmy Butler was traded to the Golden State Warriors, amongst some other trades this afternoon. And we're going to be breaking down all of that and more on this episode of Swish City. I'm Bruce Veliz, and we got a lot to dive into. So without further ado, let's gear up and let's get ready. I do want to mention that I did make a video earlier today talking about the Bucks Wizards trade, talking about the Celtics Rockets, and the KJ Martin Pistons deal. So if you missed those, definitely go check that out. But let's dive into this. So, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, the first domino has fallen. That is right. Jimmy Butler, the effect of the ripple of how his suspension has been going, he has finally decided to choose a team, and he is going to be going to the Golden State Warriors as we see the full trade down getting broken down here as the Warriors get Jimmy Butler. The Heat get Andrew Wiggins and PJ Tucker with a protected first round pick. And if you forgot, PJ Tucker was traded from the Clippers to the Jazz earlier this week. The Jazz were looking to reroute him in another deal, and they were able to, giving him to the Miami Heat. The Pistons came in this deal, taking Lindy Waters and Josh Richardson. Lindy from the Warriors, Richardson from the Heat. The Jazz get Dennis Schroeder in a swap for PJ Tucker, and the Raptors get Kyle Anderson. But we did see that from this deal, Miami is working through a resolution with Kyle Anderson as to the Toronto portion fell through. He could be staying or it could be on the move, but it's a massive deal with moving parts, something that is still fluid and still going through. But like I mentioned, the Warriors here get Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler signs a 2-year, $121 million extension where he'll be declining his player option for this new deal. This is absolutely huge for the Golden State Warriors. They're getting Jimmy Butler. They wanted a star player, tried to get Durant, tried to get LeBron, tried to get all these big names. Zach LaVine and Vucevic finally land on a guy in Jimmy Butler, get him to extend long term. And even if Jimmy wanted to go to Phoenix, I do still think Golden State will be a nice destination for him and Steph to kind of win. I think it's a little bit of a crazy one to be with Draymond Green, if you're going to be honest. I don't know how those personalities are going to clash, but it's definitely going to be something crazy to see with Steph Curry getting some help and the Warriors trying to make a last-second push here. The Heat get Andrew Wiggins and PJ Tucker with a protected first. They save some salary, drop into the luxury tax, can maybe make some moves this free agency still, this offseason, this trade deadline. The Heat have some more flexibility getting off the Jimmy Butler contract and getting a good defender in Wiggins and Tucker as well. The Pistons get Lindy Waters and Josh Richardson. They're just taking on some salaries to help out. We'll see what they decide to do with those, if they keep them, if they waive them, if they decide to reroute them in later trades, similar with the Jazz as well. And we'll check on with Kyle Anderson in the meantime as well. But like I mentioned, we'll get you updated on that on this channel. But the main thing was Jimmy Butler getting traded to the Golden State Warriors and the Miami Heat getting, obviously, Andrew Wiggins and stuff like that. It said that the Wiggins stuff, that the Jimmy Butler to Miami deal for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, and Kyle Anderson went through, and then these other deals with Miami sending out these other players is smaller transactions. So it will be taken on Miami's part. So Miami will either be stuck with Anderson or we'll try to find a way to move him, possibly buy him out. We'll have some updates, like I said, but I think it's a win-win for both teams. Jimmy finally gets out of Miami, gets to play, gets to compete, signs a long-term extension, going to be with this Golden State team for a while. And we get to see our guys in the Heat still get to stay competitive with Wiggins and still get some flexibility. The other teams kind of jumping in. Who knows what they're ultimately going to do. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see what ultimately goes down with this. Just finally glad that the Jimmy Butler drama saga is over and the trade deadline can continue with fluidity. I'm glad that this isn't happening at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock tomorrow. It's happening tonight. So going into tomorrow, we can have some trades flow in through the night and into the morning. That will definitely be great for the NBA as the trade deadline comes to a close tomorrow afternoon. But we got some more trades to break down as well. Meanwhile, with the Jimmy Butler trade, as we saw two other trades go down this afternoon that I did not break down in my previous video. Now, these are smaller trades, but I do want to cover them as the Pelicans shipped out Daniel Tice to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And this is good for two reasons for both teams. One, for the Thunder. We want to dive in for the reasons at them. It's some backup big help alongside Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Isaiah Hartenstein, two German bigs now playing together on this team. Just some backup big insurance around the edges, just in case for a Thunder team that is pretty young, might as well be able to take on the contract. And it could possibly be used in a bigger deal, potentially a Cameron Johnson trade if the Thunder do want to pursue that. So keep an eye on that with Daniel Tice. But if he does stay long term, it's a nice backup big addition. And for the New Orleans Pelicans, this only helps them because they were a bad team and they didn't want to be paying luxury tax. By dropping and selling out Daniel Tice, they drop underneath that luxury tax, free them up some little bit of money, and they are happy as well. Win-win for both teams. And usually with these smaller trades, it's a win-win for both teams. And we see another one here, in my opinion, with the Wizards and the Kings, as the Washington Wizards are trading Jonas Valanciunas to the Sacramento Kings for Sidy Cissoko and 2 second-round picks. And we saw the Wizards active earlier today, trading away Kyle Kuzma for Chris Middleton and AJ Johnson, which I thought was pretty good for the Wizards. I failed to mention AJ Johnson in that video, but I think he's going to be a nice young little piece to add for them. The Wizards have 4 pieces from this 2024 draft in Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, Alexander Starr, and now AJ Johnson with Bilal Coulibaly and young talent in Sidy Cissoko. I think even though it is a bunch of guys that maybe aren't standout guys, guys that can show, grow, and be able to develop for this Wizards team, and I'm liking that they're eventually going into this rebuild. Cissoko should be pretty solid for this Wizards team to find some growth here. And for the Kings, they obviously didn't find any value in having Sidy Cissoko as they want to compete and contend. So bringing in Jonas Valanciunas, Lithuanian teammate of Domantas Sabonis, is pretty solid. Another extra rebounder, but the Kings still need that help on the defensive side. So we'll have to see ultimately what the Kings still do, as I still don't think they are done at the deadline. I still think that this trade is a win-win for both teams. Ultimately, I do think the smaller trades around the edges just basically help out both teams, because one team is basically either shedding salary or trading players that they necessarily don't need because they want to tank for some worse players to a team that wants to get rid of some bad contracts and takes on some extra draft capital. And I think for those trades, it really helps. But ultimately, the big bombshell was dropped with Jimmy Butler finally ending the saga, as he wanted to go to the Phoenix Suns for so long, got suspended 3 times, and finally ends up in Golden State in the Bay Area with Stephen Curry. I'm excited to see how that turns out, as obviously the Western Conference has gotten some massive shakeups over these last couple days. Anthony Davis on the Mavericks, Luka Doncic on the Lakers, De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs, Zach LaVine to the Kings, Jimmy Butler to the Warriors. That's 5 teams in the Western Conference that have gone through shakeups, and more teams are going to be going through it as well. So it's going to be crazy to see how this playoff chase ultimately comes down in a star-studded Western Conference. Let me know what you guys think down below on the trades, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys again. Peace out.